Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to TCCA 2020. Thank you, all of you out there in YouTube land, for joining us. If you have any questions while Kiran is presenting, be sure to put them in the chat, please, and she will try to address them at the end, or if we see a really good one, we'll try to get that as we're going. I would now like to introduce you to the presenter of this session, Miss Kiran Kazmi.
Hi, everybody. I can't see y'all, so this is a little bit weird, but I'm really excited to be here and talking to you guys. I'm going to go through a couple of things that you can do with Nearpod in Google Slides and how you can edit the Nearpod in the actual Nearpod format. So this is just a lesson presentation that I did recently with my students. And if you guys didn't know, there are add-ons that you can get so many. As you can see, I very much enjoy add-ons. And one of those is Nearpod, and you would just go to get add-on, find Nearpod, and you can add questions, you can add lots of little things like videos, drawings, collaborative pieces, and it really enhances the formative checks in your presentations. And it also provides a way for you to constantly check in with your students, or if you're doing this for your business or for your entire building, for you to check in with them and make it more interactive. So at the bottom of my presentation, I have a couple of stops for like checking for understanding, and you can very easily add memory test, multiple choice, open-ended, and you edit your slide in Google Slides and just put your question. It will show up at the bottom of the screen, and when you go to present like this, it'll show up like as if it's empty, but really it's there. So then you can save and go to Nearpod. And it'll automatically populate this presentation inside of your Nearpod library, which is very convenient because then you can do all kinds of different edits inside of Nearpod with their new features that they have. And they have lots of really cool things like adding videos where you can add questions inside of the videos. So while this is loading, if y'all have questions that you would like answered, please put them in the box. When you're in Nearpod, you just edit your slideshow, and it'll either take you back, or you can edit inside of Nearpod itself. When you save a copy into like your folders. So every time you do this, your document is always going to be editable, and you can make any changes you want. And if you ever publish and embed, if you're using Schoology, those edits happen in real time, so you don't have to re-upload your embedded presentation over and over again. So for the purposes of working inside of Nearpod, I'm going to make a duplicate inside of Nearpod. And now I have my entire presentation right here. I'm going to click Add Slide so you guys can see everything that's available to you. And when you're adding video, you don't only get to add video from like YouTube. If you have a file that's saved on your desktop or in your own personal library or the Nearpod library, you have access to all of these things. So let's pick a random video. I'm social studies, so I want to find a social studies video, a compass one. And as you can see in the Nearpod library, they already have a couple of formative questions built in, and you yourself can add to the activity at different times during the video, which is really, really great. If any of you have used Edpuzzle, it's very similar, but this is built into your presentation. It's not separate, and it really allows the students to get the information from the front end of your lesson presentation, and then have this support of a video that has checkpoints, and it being integrated makes it so much cooler and also really, really fun for me as a teacher, because I don't have to jump between a bunch of different places. It's all just in one little Nearpod, and I am able to get everything that I need to my students without stressing over a bunch of different things. I had one of my teachers that I work with let me know that when she was editing her Nearpod, the slide image itself was messed up, like it wasn't showing properly. And so if you click on the actual slide, you can move where your presentation fits, and you can change the size and like zoom of it, and then save it, and that's how it'll present in the Nearpod. I'm going to take a second and ask Anne if there's any questions.
Toshiba, do we have anything so far?
Yes, we do. The first question is, will sessions be available later? That was answered in the chat. They are being recorded. Follow the same link to get the recording. And our second question was, what add-ons do you have that you can't live without?
Oh, that is a great question. So let me go back to the screen. One of my favorite add-ons is the easy accents and the extensis fonts. So we have like just a standard set of fonts, and this really enhances all your presentations. They have so many different fonts to choose from, and you can actually save them to your font library, which is great because if you couldn't tell from this presentation, I really enjoy a lot of like color and dimension. So you can save all this to your font library, and what's super cool is when you pick one that you like and you're creating a new slideshow, you can actually edit your master slide to change the style of font for the presentation as a whole. And it'll be, instead of every slide having to change the font, it'll auto do it. So now it changed my font. And when I go to this slide, after it saves, it'll change all of my fonts to the new font style, which is really fun. A similar to Nearpod add-on is Pear Deck. The only thing with Pear Deck that Nearpod has over it is that you can embed a Nearpod, which is my favorite thing to do, especially inside of Schoology. If y'all use Schoology, you know that creating pop-out windows is not the best thing for that. But if you have stuff embedded, it's super easy, which I can totally show you guys how to do. Pear Deck does something similar, but you have to present through their Pear Deck publishing site. But in Nearpod, I can get my embed link by clicking the right hand 3 dots, and then share with teachers, and then just get the embed link, pick the size that I want, and I can embed that into a page inside of Schoology or in any website really, in the HTML code box. And it is right there, built in, the presentation is there, you don't need to pop out anywhere else, and it makes it very convenient. Toshiba, is there any other questions or thoughts?
Somebody did mention something about when they add GIFs to their presentation in Nearpod, it becomes a static image. Is that the case? It couldn't be animated.
Yeah, so if you have a Google slide and you turn it over into a Nearpod, when you make the duplicate, it turns everything that you did in your Google slide into a static image because it's saving that as like
As a
an uneditable file. So when you're in the Nearpod itself and you're editing the slide, pick the wrong button. And when let me see. Let me go through my library. So when you're in it, everything has been converted to an image. And what I do is I try to, instead of getting a GIF, which some files it'll have only like that one link. Some of them have like a micro MP4 or like you know what I mean? Like it's like a small shortened image. So it'll have like a 3-second video, and that's what I use in place of it. So I just search YouTube, or I'll search online, and instead of downloading it as a GIF, I'll download it as an MP3 file, and I'll upload that, and it'll work that way. That's the workaround that I found.
Okay, that sounds great. We got anything else, Toshiba, that came up?
Yes. Can you use animated GIFs in Nearpod?
Oh, that's one she just did.
Okay.
Somebody asked, I believe, if you could show how to embed that into Schoology.
Yes.
Sure. So I'm just gonna, I'll do it. You click the 3 dots, whatever your presentation, wherever folder you have it in, you always float over and it'll go black. And normally you would pick like you're doing a live participation or student paced. But if you do either one of those, it's gonna make a code and it'll have a cutoff. So what you wanna do is click the 3 little dots on the right, click share with teacher, and then you'll have all these options, and you wanna do embed. You're gonna copy this link, and let's go to my sandbox class in Schoology. Which I was very literal in the image of, but you know, it helps me find it. And you're going to go to add materials and add page. And you switch to HTML. So you're going to get this how you normally would, just blank. And then you'll see on the right, there's these 2 little dots, and you just click it and it'll switch to HTML, and you can paste the code in here. And then Nearpod. And you can also add your content alignment, your learning objectives here as well. And then I'm just going to create my embedded page, and it will be inside of Nearpod. I mean, inside of Schoology, the Nearpod will be built in. And you can obviously change the size. You could do edit page and change the dimensions by just dragging the lines to whatever suits your needs. I do know that for videos inside of an embedded Nearpod in Schoology, there have been a couple issues, and in that it won't play the video. So the workaround is you just have a little note. I always put a little note that says, open in Nearpod, click the double square at the bottom right, and the presentation will open in a full screen, and the kids are able to go through and watch your videos and have a more magnified version if you have multiple videos in there, and you still have this available if it's just your notes going through with some question checkpoints. Does that answer that, Anne and Toshiba?
Yes, and thank you. Learned a little bit there myself. Appreciate that.
We had one more question, and it was, can you show your extensions again?
Yeah, for sure. So these are all of my add-ons. I have quiz decks, easy accents, because I'm doing world geography this year, so I need to be able to put some accent marks in places. My fonts, Nearpod, a couple of learning resources and translators, and some image searchers. But I really like to just go to their Get Add-ons page and kind of filter through and find ones that interest me and add them, and I like to play around with them to see what fits me best. So we can actually do that. So when you click Get Add-ons, you'll just get taken to the library. Easy Accents is great, especially if you're a foreign language teacher or a history, social studies teacher, because a lot of things have accents and it's not always easy to do key shortcuts or remember to do key shortcuts. So that is a quick way to do it. The fonts, I love the fonts because I very much enjoy a plethora of fonts. And having a translator, I used to work with AEA a lot, and having the slide translator was really helpful in making my presentations and doing my Nearpods, because I could have a side-by-side of the English text and the Spanish text, and I didn't have to copy and paste into Google Translate. It was already in there for me. But there's so many different options in here. And one secret option that is not an add-on, but I will tell you guys because I am slightly obsessed with this site, it's called Slides Go. And they have really awesome themes that you can use for your PowerPoints and for your Google Slides. And they're free. And as long as you give them creator credit at the end of your presentation, you get these beautifully made templates for your slideshows, and you literally just click and it'll give you the option to use as a Google or PowerPoint, and you just make a forced copy of the presentation, and it'll be in your library under your Google Slides, and you can just reference it and make a copy of it and make presentations using this forever, basically. I would really love if anybody has any specific things that they've seen with Nearpod or Google Slides that you're I really would like to know how to do this, or I really would like a different perspective on it.
Okay, Toshiba, do we have anything else?
Yes. What is Slido? Is one question. And then would you want me to give you the other two now?
Yeah. What was the Smido?
Slido.
Oh, Slido. Okay.
Slido.
I don't know what that is either.
So these are a couple of teacher tools that some people that I've been watching their tutorials for Schoology recommended, and it basically is polling, question and answer polls that you can add into your slides. That is separate from Nearpod. Nearpod has an option for polls, which I can show you. But this is like completely as if that was the only thing you wanted to do, was have a poll. That's what Slido is.
Okay.
We're
Our next,
more.
our next question, when you share the Nearpod with other teachers in Schoology, why doesn't it work sometimes?
Okay, so then my question is, are you sharing are you doing the share with teachers link, like the social or the link, or are you doing the embed? Because the link will expire. An embed will not expire. Anytime you use a link, it has a tendency to either break or expire, which is why some people have access to it and then some people don't.
Okay.
It's a very good point. Thank you for reminding them that. Thank you.
Our next question,
question.
how do you do the slide translator?
Okay, we can play with that right now. So it gives you different options. I usually just do translate in a text box because most students have like voice to text already, like the Kurzweil, or if they're in Schoology, you can enable in the assessment the text to speech. But you can just do a text box and pick whatever language you like. And let's see, Swedish, why not? And then it'll translate whatever's on your slide right here. And then you can put it below or side by side is what I like to do. It's really super fast and easy.
Okay, our next question is, when we use Canvas, so when I embed the Nearpod activity on the page, does it record their assignment activity in Nearpod?
Okay, so like because it's embedded and it's in your library, all of that data is in the Nearpod because it is the link that was created in your account. So you still get the same data as if it was like you were doing it in person and you had the students log in with the code.
And then we also have someone that asks for you to clarify, how do you share as well as embed the Nearpod?
Sure. So if you create a Nearpod and you just want to send a copy to your like fellow team or a couple other teachers or people that you know, you just click that share with teachers and you can email them and they'll get a link. If you want them to actually be able to change or alter or edit, you can send them this editable link right here. But if you only want them to view, you would just put this preview. And you can always send them an email and it'll give them an editable copy unless you uncheck that box. And then you can always post anything on social media now, but that's an option. But remember, these are like, unless they save them into their libraries, these links are not going to last forever. So if you embed into Canvas or Schoology, or if you have your own website and you embed it in there, and you give them the link to the page of your Canvas, Schoology, or website, they'll be able to view the file like repeatedly forever because you have a published site. These aren't published. These are just like, here's quick access and it'll go away. Does that make sense?
Made sense to me.
So I'm assuming that it does. There hasn't been a response to the question yet.
I know sometimes it gets a little like techie in a way that is farther away than what most people are used to, but basically it's a link is great for immediate access, but embed is great for forever. That's the option I always go to.
And Ms. Swan said, thank you, it did make sense.
Oh, perfect. You're welcome.
We do have another question, and the person asks, is there any recommendations for anyone that's going to share their Nearpod lesson for the first time?
Oh, okay. So this is a new thing that I really enjoy is the great thing about doing Google Slides and Nearpod is it takes the pressure off you to constantly talk, basically, and you're able to just like go through and allow yourself to breathe, because you can do the self-paced version for your students or your teammates, and it really gets them in a place where they're in charge of their own learning, and it's very helpful. Also, in Nearpod, if you're on Canvas or Schoology, you can now do a voiceover on each of your slides, which is very helpful if you ever have any type of presentation where you can't physically be there and they're still getting to hear your voice. And it's the same process where you edit in the Nearpod, you go to your slide, and right at the bottom, I don't know if y'all can see that. Can y'all, it says, because on my screen it has like the little StreamYard bar.
You can click hide on that little bar to get rid of that.
Oh gosh, Anne, that is very true, right in front of my face. But right at the bottom, it'll have all these different options, and you can add audio, either of a recording or you can do a live recording. And I like to do this for my Schoology because sometimes I don't have kids come to my live tutorials, and this way they still get to hear my voice, and it's like basically built-in text-to-speech, which I highly recommend. I would say just play around and, you know, do something small and short and then just build on it, because there's so many different things you can do editing inside of a Nearpod and adding slides. I mean, you could do a VR field trip, which is really fun for world geography, and they have options for you here, and you get to really add a bunch of really interesting details that normally wouldn't be inside of a presentation. Any other questions?
Toshiba, you're muted and I can't unmute you, babe. There you go.
Would you create, I'm sorry, would you create the embedded link for students the same way that you would create it for teachers?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Would you create the embedded link for students the same way that you would create it for teachers?
Yes, so when I am doing this in Schoology or same for Canvas, it's the same exact process. There's only one embed link. When I'm in the classroom with students, I share the code with them, but it's the same embed link regardless.
Okay, we have another question. How can we get access to the public Nearpod library?
Okay, so on your campus or in your district, you should have a certain level of Nearpod access, but in general, when you're on your main Nearpod page, there's just this on this left-hand side, there is just a library of presentations that you can look through, and it has it by subject and grade level as well. And when you're actually in your Nearpod and you want to add a video, it'll auto-populate their video library first. So for me, I don't have access to Flowcabulary anymore, but I still have access to the Nearpod library. And so when I click to add a video, it just automatically, the first thing it opens is their video library. So it shouldn't ever be like a hard thing for you to find since it's already built in their website.
The next question, can you do voiceovers on their entire presentation without doing a slide-by-slide recording?
No, I'm sorry. That is not something that you can do right now. I do know that Nearpod has many, many more updates coming soon, but one of the things that it is not doing right now is having that overall video or audio recording. It is slide by slide.
Okay. Is there a way to get the upgraded account again?
I can address that one for you, Kiran. If you are an Aldine employee, reach out to your campus DLS. If you're not in Aldine, reach out to somebody in your technology department and see what your district has available to you.
Our next question is, if you do not have a district account, is there a way to share Nearpod to a shared folder?
Yeah, if you don't have a district account, you still have just a generic Nearpod account that you're paying for yourself. It's still the same process. You can share your files and share embedded Nearpods. You'll just have to make sure that when you're doing that in whatever folder in Google Drive that you're providing that shareable access, because Google Drive has its own settings. Is that something that I should show?
You can. We've got time.
Cool. Okay. So when you're in Drive and you have your folders, all of them are usually closed off because it's just for you and your personal needs. So for me, I created a subfolder inside of my general world geography materials folder, and basically right here, you see how it has like a couple people images? That's because I've allowed this folder for anyone who has a link to it to have access to the materials inside of it. And if you just right click, it'll have this whole menu open. You can do share and you change your settings. So right now it's restricted. And I would basically just change it to either anyone in Aldine for me, or I could change it to anyone with link. And once I save that, it'll alter the share settings. So now you can see it has a little person sitting on the folder. So anybody that I share a link to this folder to will be able to access any materials I have inside.
Okay, and I think this is a follow-up question. The shared folder can only be accessed in Google Drive?
If your folder is in Google Drive, then yes. But if you have, for example, a specific resource folder in Schoology, you would just share the link to that or add a member, and they'd be able to access your materials there. And same with Canvas, you would just add a member to whatever resource or course that you want them to be able to see your materials in, and they'll be able to see your stuff there.
I don't see any other questions in the chat at this point.
Okay. I mean, my thing was very simple. Nearpod is extremely intuitive. It is doing updates, so all the like little things like a complete voiceover might be coming down sooner than you think. I highly recommend building in Google Slides first, because you can really play around with background and images and fonts, because for Nearpod right now, they just have like a very specific set of themes, which are these right here, and a specific set of fonts. And by doing it in slides, you can really customize, and then you are able to just edit the individual slides to incorporate all the like interactive pieces that Nearpod has to offer. You can just open it up if you want, Anne.
What's that?
You can just open it up to like any random question at this point, because we're at 40. We're 10 minutes ahead.
Yeah, we've got 15 minutes till the end. There's no other questions in there. If you guys have any questions, shout them out, and we'll see if Kiran can answer those for you. But yeah, like she said, Nearpod's pretty intuitive.
Yeah. Nice.
But I did learn something new here about Slides Go. I've written that down. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I love that. I love it.
I believe emailing the certificate, I believe Justin has those on a timer to go out at the end of sessions. I'm not sure if it's the end of session or end of day. Gabriella just asked this question in chat, so sorry you can't see what's happening over here. And before we close the session out, I will be giving you all the super secret word. So in order to unlock that. So it will be in an email.
Yeah. It looks like I just got an email about it.
So Amy, you've asked why we don't have access to the public Nearpod library. If you have a district user account in Aldine, so it's usually called a gold account, but in Aldine, ours has a red ribbon, says district user. If you have one of those accounts, then you do have access to your Nearpod library. However, we do watch that Nearpod usage, and at the end of every month, if you don't use it, then you do lose it. So we can give that to others because we do have limited number of Nearpod accounts. So we do give those to others who are requesting them. So you can reach out to your campus DLS. I know your middle school because your name is familiar to me. So either Chad, Hosea, or myself, whichever one is for your campus, and we'll get you set up. Let's see what else we got. I like this comment that Jasmine put in there. Student engagement is very high using Nearpod for sure. And I think how Kiran showed it with using the Google Slides to integrate, I think that's a great way to do it. Start in Slides and then put that into Nearpod.
Oh, this is the certificate. Oh, okay. I saw one from Hannah. I stopped sharing my screen so I could read because I'm nosy.
This one here?
Yeah, so
yeah,
I will share my screen again.
Alrighty, I'll put that back up.
And Anna, basically, whenever you are working on your Google Slides and you have already put in all your different things, you opened your Nearpod, you added whatever activities you wanted, you can either continue to edit the lesson in Google Slides, or you can go to Nearpod and then you make a duplicate of it and you duplicate it in Nearpod, and that'll change everything other than the interactive materials from Nearpod into an image. And now you're able to edit inside of Nearpod. And you can continue to add files, add activities, and everything else that Nearpod offers inside of it itself. And say one of your slides is slightly off center, or you want to zoom in a little bit, you can edit that as well, because now it's a stationary image, and that's how that's done. I hope that I answered that appropriately for you.
We have another question, and I thought it was a pretty great question. Do you have any suggestions to accommodate English language learners?
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, definitely do. So like I said, last year I worked with AEAs and I worked with the really fabulous inclusion teacher, Miss Martinez, and I learned a lot from her. And Nearpod, actually, I would use it all the time because I really enjoy the formative. So what I would do is I would make just a standard Nearpod for my regular kids, and then I would do my translate box, text box in Spanish, and I'd make a copy of my presentation, and then in that copy of my presentation, I had a Spanish like translated one with the English and Spanish for my AEA kids that was super helpful, because then I could share a specific Nearpod with them that allowed them to continue their English acquisition, but have that ability to have this small little, text box of, oh, she's talking about this over here. Obviously, that's not Spanish, that's still Swedish, but it allowed me also, because I still had those same formative assessments that Nearpod has built in, to look specifically at my numbers for AEA so that I could adjust where I needed to for that group of kids. Is that helpful? I hope that's helpful.
I believe yes. I'm looking to see. I think that was the last question that we've had here, Kiran.
Wonderful. I feel like we made great time.
All right. If there's nothing else, we can end a little bit early. Let me just check comments one more time. Oh, what? Yeah, you want to go ahead?
Okay, the first one was, could you show how to include the Google slide into Nearpod again?
Okay. And then so
app for translate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here.
Sorry, it just went really quiet and I got so
You're good.
So I use an add-on called Slide Translator, and you can just get that in the add-on library in Google Slides, and you can just put Slides Translator, and it's this little, it's like an origami unicorn, and then to do the Google Slides into Nearpod, after you've added on whatever Nearpod stuff you want to add on, it'll have an option that says save and go to Nearpod right here. And you'll do that. It'll save your entire presentation, including whatever Nearpod add-ons you set up inside Google Slides. And then once it is fully saved, you duplicate and it'll open up inside of Nearpod as individual static images. And then you can save into Nearpod as a Nearpod presentation by itself. It's like basically a copy of your Google slide, but in Nearpod exclusively.
Okay, we have another question, and it is, any recommendation for CT and CTM students?
Ooh, so I love to use the reading on each slide, especially because usually they have text to speech as one of their requirements. And so even though in Schoology and Canvas you can add that I really enjoy when I'm editing the slides.
We have 5 minutes, Kiran.
Great. So when I am editing the slides, to just make sure I add that in there, add that audio, and I like to add a lot of images as well. And you can do that with literally adding a slide and searching through all this content. Vocabulary is also wonderful because that music really helps them memorize things. And that's what I've got for you guys. I hope that helped.
I think that's pretty good. Make sure. I think we're good. So you all want to know, what is the super secret word for this session? Your super secret word is learn. Learn. It is case sensitive. So it is a capital L right there on the screen. Your super secret password. The password is learn. All right. So that is it, you all. Thank you for attending. Kiran, thank you so much. Toshiba, thank you so much as well. And you guys out there, just start getting ready for your next session. We'll be starting on the hour, so at 10 o'clock next session. So super secret password is learn. All right. Thank you all. I'm going to end our broadcast.